welcome to today's devotional thought. I'm coming to you on this bright and sunny Tuesday afternoon from inside my mom's front room in her house. And out of these front windows, we have seen a lot of things happening. We've seen neighborhoods constructed, we've seen houses going up, a lot what we're seeing all throughout the Portland metro area. We're seeing places that once was farmland and once was fields and once was calm and tranquil being turned into the sounds of constructions and people moving in and families and cars and traffic lights and strip malls. And we can look back with nostalgia on these things and remembering, saying, I remember when. But we have to understand that the people who who help the cities expand are actually the landowners themselves. The people who have long owned the land, they'll decide if they want to sell, and if they sell, if who to whom they're selling. In many cases, if it will be to a developer who will turn those fields into houses, or another farmer, or if they're gonna donate it to the use for parks. They get to decide because it was their land first and they purchased it before. So they get a certain amount of say because it was theirs first. Even when we're looking at maybe buying a house, it's the person who owns the land that gets to decide because they have the first rights. The people who are in possession get to determine the price or the conditions. It's pretty natural. The first come, first serve. This principle we well understand. If you go to a grocery store and you're wanting to get a donut and the person in front of you gets the last donut, that's something we understand. It's first come, first serve. There's a certain right that people have in being first, and not just rights and authority, but even knowledge. When you think of people who have lived in Newburgh a long time, their knowledge base of this community, maybe Hill or McMinnville, their knowledge base of those communities is much deeper and much richer, much more thorough than someone who's just recently moved to the area. If you were a police officer and you were investigating a crime scene and you could interview two witnesses, a witness who had been there a long time and had seen everything transpire, or someone who had just can't come like on the very end or the tail end or 5 minutes after a crime scene, you would weight the testimonies much more strongly on the person who was there longer, because they were there longer, because they were there first, they had a better perspective, they had a better point of view. This first, we understand it. There's rights and responsibilities. If you call shotgun first, you get to ride in the front seat. If you call first shower at our house, you get the first shower. If you've arrived first or you've been there longest, you have certain knowledge of the people. We understand that when we talk about our cities and we talk about the way our houses function, or grocery stores even. But what about when we go to the very, very beginning? When we read in John 1, 1 through 3, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning, very beginning, with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made that was made. We know that God, being God, he knows all things, but do we often stop and think that he knows all things because he was there? He was there at the beginning. He was not only a witness to creation itself happening, he was the instigator of it. He was the one actually making it happen. He has the knowledge of someone who was there since the beginning, from the beginning. And we know that Genesis, we know that in John, we go to the beginning, we know that in the book of Revelation, which is the very last book of the Bible, Revelation 3:14. These things says the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. He was there at the beginning of God's creation. He was here even before settlers moved into the region that we know of as Oregon, or the Chehalem Valley, the Willamette River. Before the Native Americans were here, he was here even before Moses. Jesus was the great I am. And that gives him rights, authority, wisdom, and power. Not just because he's all powerful and because he's a God, that in and of itself is crazy enough, but because he's been around the longest. He's been around to see the crazy cycles of sin, to see the repetitive tendencies of sin, the rise and fall of empires. Nothing surprises him, for he has seen it all. And not just he's seen it all, he the faithful and true witness. He being the first has the first rights, as as Paul's letter to the Colossian church reads in Colossians 1:17 through 18. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he may have preeminence. He's preeminent. He has first rights. He's to be worshiped, to be reverenced. He has all power and authority because he that world and the way it's developing and changing and being correct.